Met de woord aanraak van Uwe hand, staan in mij. Leer liefdes van mij. Leer liefdes van mij.
Shalom everybody, good day. And today we're going to start in the book of Exodus. Okay, it's important to know the Bible. It's important to study these books because the New Testament is built on the Old Testament. So the better you understand the Old Testament, the better you're going to know the New Testament. And the whole Bible in its whole is like one huge puzzle. And sometimes we think that we don't understand the Bible, but you sometimes just need that one puzzle to complete the picture for you. So today we're going to start on the book of Exodus called Shemot. Now the Greek name is Exodus and meaning going out, and it's the short for Exodus, and it's all about the departure from Egypt as used in the Septuagint. Now, in the Torah, which is just another name for the Pentateuch, the law books, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, the names are based on the opening of the books. So it's not like our names, Genesis. In the Hebrew, you get the name Bereshit for Genesis, because the first name, the first word is Bereshit bara et Hashamayim. So the word for Genesis is Bereshit. Now we come to Exodus, and we see that if we look in Exodus, we see Ve'ele Shemot. There's the word Shemot Bnei Israel. So the first word the word for Exodus is Shemot, and it is based on this word, of course, Shemot. All right. So it was the whole Torah was like one work, not like we have today. The translators did a good work to just have chapters of verses for best reading so that we can memorize it and work through the Bible systematically. But it was not so with the books of Genesis up till Deuteronomy. It was just one work, was one Torah, if you can say it. And it was divided into separate works, which we know as the Torah. So let's complete. Now I want us to look at the word Shemot. Now there's our word Shemot. And I want us to look at the letters of this word, because every letter in Hebrew, every Hebrew letter has a value, the grammatica of Hebrew, and has a prophetic meaning. And when you go back to the ancient Hebrew, it gets a lot more interesting than our languages. We must remember that our languages is very new in comparison to Hebrew and ancient Hebrew. So let's look at the first word, the first letter. And the first letter is the letter Shin. Shin. And there we have the letter as we write it today. And there is the ancient letter. So now if you look at that ancient letter Shin, it's like a pictograph. So you can think for yourself how it looked like. All right, like for Ein, the ancient Ein looks like this. It looks like an eye, isn't it? Ein is an eye. Okay, so look at that letter and let's see. Now, according to ancient Hebrew, it was represented as two front teeth. It means sharp, press, and also two again, or both. That is what one letter means in the Hebrew, in the ancient Hebrew. Now, one rabbi has written that Shin represents the totality of an overall process, one that is shalim. Now, shalim means whole, full, and complete. Now, that is where we get our word shalom from, to mean whole, full, and complete. And shalom, which is translated as peace in our Bibles. So we can see actually how poor our language is in regards to the ancient Hebrew and the biblical Hebrew. And the Bible was written in the biblical Hebrew. So that is very important. Let's just go back to it and see what it really means. So the first letter derived from shalom. Now, peace is more than the absence of conflict. It is the culmination of a process, a finished work. So you use the word shalom to greet somebody. I will say shalom. It means hello or goodbye. And also shalom in the Bible, which is translated as peace. You can see now you actually bless somebody by saying shalom to that person, because you actually tells that person to be whole, to be full, and to be complete. And God is a peace giver. So we can't have any of those things unless we have God in our lives. So shalom also represents the totality of an overall process. Peace and completion are inseparable because one is a result of the other. We get a Shin on the mezuzah, and this is how a mezuzah looks like. Here is this mezuzahs. Now the mezuzahs is used to put up by the doors of the houses. I've got a mezuzah here also put up on the doorpost of my house. And what you are actually saying when you put up a mezuzah, and you will see that the Shin is present there on that mezuzah, is that it stands for Shaddai, which means that God of Israel is a protector of the house. So when you put up a mezuzah, you've got the Shin there. It says God protects your house. So not just any God, because there's a lot of gods in this world, but the Lord God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, is a protector of this house. Then Shaddai is also derived from the Hebrew word shad. And now you can see here, just taking you back to the ancient Hebrew letter. And shad means a woman's breast. The Shaddai can also be translated as the breasted one. Now we must make difference between, you've got the multi-breasted one as an ancient Greek god, which is also the queen of heaven and so forth. Not that. What it means here is, because God is not a multi-breasted one, it is symbolically meaning the provider and sustainer of life. All that just from the word or the letter Shin. Now let's go to the next letter. The next letter is Mem. This is how we write it today. That's the ancient. Can you think how it looks like? That Mem, it looks like waves. It looks like water. And you get the word Mayam, and it means water. That's where you get it from. Now, according to ancient Hebrew, it was pictured as waves of water. It represented water, sea, mighty, massive chaos from the storms of the sea. The letter is also used as a question word. You get me, ma, and it means who, what. You can hear it. Me, ma. What, when, where, why, and how, in the sense of searching for an unknown. Now listen, this is the letters of the word Shemot, Exodus. We're going to bring it all together and see what it really means. It's very interesting to know. Nothing in the Bible is just written there. It's not a storybook. Every letter in the Bible means something if you go back to the original language. It is also the middle letter of the word emet, which means truth. Another curious play on words discovered by the sages is based upon an incident found in the book of Numbers. Then Moses raised his arms and struck the rock twice with his staff. Water gushed out in the community and their livestock drank. The word for rock used in this passage is Selah, spelled Samech, Lamed, Ayin. Okay, and let's put this name in a diagram to illustrate the point made by the rabbis. Now, here is the word Selah. Here we have the word Selah, the Samech, Lamed, and Ayin. And they say, the rabbis say, that Moses struck the rock twice, and with the first blow, he knocked off the first line. Once again, he struck the rock, resulting in knocking off the last row of letters. Only the mem and the ayin remained, which when we rearranged it, it becomes the word mayim, which means water, and thus, like Moses, we get water from the rock, as unusual as we can get water from a rock, just as unusual for water to form a wall and stand up like a rock for the Israelites to go through the Red Sea on dry ground. So this is what the sages say. What they do is, in biblical Hebrew, you get the plain meaning, and then you get also the hidden meaning, which you have to go and seek for. And there's a lot of those things. I'm not going to get into that. Then the next letter we get is the letter Vav, and this is how it looks like in the ancient Hebrew. And this was a tent peg to fasten something. Now this is a very interesting letter. My name, for instance, is Venessa, and my name starts with a V. Everybody's whose name starts with a V or a W, your name will start with the letter Vav. So let's see. The next letter we find in Shemot is the letter Vav. In ancient Hebrew, this letter represents a tent peg. It resembles securing something and used as and. There means and. It's a conjunction. Now, what is very interesting, that each scroll is comprised of roughly 245 precisely used columns, each one 42 lines in length, and no chapter or verse markings. No punctuation or capitalization to indicate the end of a sentence and the beginning of the next. Only 4 lines between the end of one book and the beginning of the next. Almost every column of the Torah scroll begins with the same letter. Scribes who print Torah scrolls use great skill and planning so that each column will begin with a word whose first letter is Vav. Isn't that interesting? And that is why we can also introduce Vav as a man of the word. A man of the word. Vav. Literally hooks words together. Vav is also the center letter of the Torah, which means the first 5 books of the Bible. The central letter. And Vav is a conjunction letter. So, you see, nothing in the Bible is just there. Then we get the last letter, which is Tav. This is the ancient, looks like a cross, doesn't it? You get the word et, just to tell you, and et looks like this. In ancient Hebrew, it looks like this. Again, the cross. Now, et means the leader on the cross. That's the ancient Hebrew of et. This is how the Bible was written in the original language. In ancient Hebrew, it is a cross, 2 sticks that cross each other. It is also seen as a mark, a sign, or a signature. As you say, the strong leader at the cross is a sign. Or the mark. Tav has an identity that is of a different order from the other 21 letters and is a combination of the lessons they embody. Tav is seen not only as a completing the alphabet because it's the last letter. Aleph is the first letter. Tav is the last letter of the alphabet. And so also it represents that through Jesus Christ, the Messiah, we are led back to God the Father. He's also the Aleph and Tav. Nobody can go to the Father but through Jesus Christ. This is actually in the ancient letters of biblical Hebrew. Isn't that amazing? The Tav leading you back to the Father. This is what's actually the prophetic meaning of the Hebrew letters. The Hebrew word for sin is chata. If we fasten sin to the cross, the Teuf, we put it in that word, we derive the word chatat, which means a sin offering. Isn't it good? Christ took our sin upon him and he became the sin offering. But if we put now these words together, the Shin, the Mem, the Vav and the Teuf, then we get this, the Shin. And I'm just going to read it now. Remember, Hebrew, we read from right to left. Two and Shaddai, two also means covenant. Shaddai, the one who cares, the great God. Shaddai made a covenant with Israel and led them out by a mighty force and through water, he saved them and destroyed their enemy. He fastened them to himself by giving them the Torah. They will commemorate these events by celebrating the feast, their mark of deliverance and freedom. That's the ancient prophetic meaning behind the word Shemot, Exodus in our Bibles. You see, the word of God is so excellent, and the Hebrew language and the ancient Hebrew is so, there's not actually a word to describe it, but it is breathtaking. It's awesome because there's a prophetic meaning, and God is the God who gave biblical Hebrew. Isn't that amazing? No wonder. I mean, if you just look at these letters. So when we think of Exodus, we think about slavery, Moses, Egypt, Pharaoh, murder of the babies, the plagues, victory, the Red Sea, miracle working God, Mount Sinai, the 10 Commandments. We will look at it. It is a story of people that needed to go through the desert for 40 years to get Egypt out of them, the courage of a man that had no courage to speak at first, to lead them, and the patience of a God. Although he destroyed the unbelieving, it is a story like no other in the Bible, a story unique to a unique people and a unique God who will show them his name. Now, why is it important for us to study Exodus? Because in Exodus you can see how God will deal with his people in the end times. We will see how God's going to deal with us, his bride, in the end times. In the tabernacle, we're going to learn worship. We're going to see Jesus Christ. We're going to see spiritual growth. All that we're going to see. Now, there's no time to go through all that. We have classes where we have 1 hour classes on a chapter of Exodus, and you are welcome to contact us and or follow us on TikTok or YouTube or Kruiskyk or Facebook, and to join these classes and get all the info from there. But this is the book of Exodus, the Hebrew name Shemot. And what do we need to know? What is the main aim of studying Exodus? To see how God deals with his people, how God will deal with us, how he is dealing with us. We go through the Midbar, the desert, but we're also on our way to the promised land. But what when the plague struck the earth? What then? What happens to us? Do we need to be afraid? Where are we supposed to find our place? What does God expect from us? This is all in the book of Shemot. Hope to see you next time, and get a pen ready because you would love to take down some notes. And don't forget, Saturday mornings, 7:30, Wednesday evenings, 6:30 on Kruiskyk and also on YouTube. You will get the videos if you want to look at it again. God bless you, and I bless you with Shalom. Bye-bye.
donker van die nag. Roep uit